Hello, everyone, and welcome to this online Pathshala by Clat Possible. The topic we have for discussion today are the Nobel Prizes. Now, you all know that the Nobel Prizes are an important piece of news for the exam. They've been announced just about a month and a half before Clat, and that makes them absolutely important for the GK and current affairs section of the exam. So today, let's try to get into it. What I'll try to do is to try to make it easy for you, try to make sure that you're able to remember it, that you're able to remember all of the different names that form part of the preparation for the Nobel Prizes. So let's make a start and focus on the history and background of the prize. So first of all, who is the person who is associated with instituting the Nobel Prizes? We are, of course, talking about Alfred Nobel. Now, this is a person most well known for inventing explosive substances like dynamite, gelignite, and ballistite. Okay, so the person is Alfred Nobel, and the substances that he invented in his lifetime were gelignite, ballistite, and dynamite. Now, in his last will and testament, he provided for the creation of these Nobel Prizes. Now, how many Nobel Prizes were provided for in the will of Alfred Nobel? Only 5. You must be thinking that today 6 Nobel Prizes are awarded. So the 3 sciences, physics, chemistry, and physiology or medicine, literature, peace, and economic sciences. So these 6 are awarded these days, but originally in the will of Alfred Nobel, only 5 prizes were provided for. In the original will, no prize was created for economic sciences. The prize for economic sciences gets created much later in the late 1960s. But for now, what did his will provide for? That the people should be recognized in 5 branches: literature, peace, physics, chemistry, and physiology or medicine. Who should be picked? Those who provide in the last year the greatest benefit to mankind. And they would be awarded a diploma, a medal. They would also be awarded a prize money, right? So that is the background of the Nobel Prizes. That is how these Nobel Prizes came about. And we had 5 in the beginning: the 3 sciences, literature, and peace. Okay, so that's the sort of history and background of the Nobel Prizes. We could theoretically go into a lot more, but I'm going to reserve that for our discussion on the individual prizes. You should simply know that which are those institutions which decide the winners of the prize. All of these institutions are based in either Sweden or in Norway. So we are going to take a look at the deciders of each of these prizes as we do each of the prizes given out or awarded this year. Okay, so that is how we are going to go about it. What I'm going to do is pick each subject for which a prize is awarded, and we're going to discuss 4 or 5 things about each of them. Number 1, who picks the winners of this award? Number 2, who the first winner was? Number 3, which Indians have won this award? And number 4, who are the latest winners of the award? So these are the 4 core things we're going to do with respect to each of the Nobel Prizes. And when we come to economics, we're also going to take a look at how it came to be, who sponsors it, and is it really a Nobel Prize? So let's begin. And I'm somewhat going to go in the order in which they were announced this year. Okay. Now, before we get to each of those, two final things, and then we get on with the latest winners. Okay. What are these two things? Number one, these Nobel Prizes are not given posthumously. What does posthumous mean? It means that these prizes will not be awarded to a person who has already passed away or who has already died. Their criteria is that on the date on which we announce the Nobel Prizes, if the person is alive, they will receive the award. But on the date of announcement, if the person is dead, then they are not entitled to the Nobel Prize. Okay. So I would have a lot of pity for the famous scientist who was dead just by a day, right on the day on which the Nobel Prizes had to be announced. Anyway, so that was the first thing. The Nobel Prizes are not awarded posthumously. And what's the second point? No more than 3 people can be given any particular Nobel Prize in any given year. So this is why you see that a lot of the Nobel Prizes this year are being shared by 3 people. Okay, so that's the reason why. So now let's make a quick start, and we're going to start with chemistry. Now, when it comes to chemistry, what I've done is I've prepared these short acronyms for you as easy ways for you to remember each of the Nobel Prize winners this year. Okay, so for chemistry, our acronym is BRS. Okay, our acronym is BRS. This is with the surnames of the people who won this prize. So what are the surnames of these people? B for Brankow, R for Ramsdell, and S for Sakaguchi. Okay, B, R, and S. Brankow, Ramsdell, and Sakaguchi. Okay, so these are the 3 people who won the chemistry prize this year. I'm sorry, there's a very slight mistake. I meant to say the physiology or medicine prize. That's a slight error on my part here. BRS is the acronym for the Nobel Prize winners in physiology or medicine. That was the first prize to be announced in this year. Okay, so just make sure that this is clear. I don't want there to be any confusion. I'm actually doing a YouTube live video for the first time in my life. So I hope you'll excuse the small error that was made there. What I meant to say was that BRS is the acronym for the winners of the physiology or medicine prize: Brankow, Ramsdell, and Sakaguchi. Okay. Now, what have they won this award for? Can anyone tell me in chat? Can anyone tell me in the chat who are the people we've already done? What have they won the award for? So let's wait a few seconds for some answers to roll in. Who are the people who won? We've already done that. For what have they won this prize? The acronym is PIT. Okay, so BRS have won it for PIT. What's PIT? PIT stands for peripheral immune tolerance. Okay, PIT stands for peripheral immune tolerance. Now, what is peripheral immune tolerance, you might ask? Basically, peripheral immune tolerance, the study of peripheral immune tolerance, teaches us why our own immune system does not attack the tissues and cells of our own bodies. As you know, it's the job of the immune system to fight off infections in the body, to fight off foreign particles, to fight off any foreign agents in the body. So peripheral immune tolerance, this concept is basically the study of why the immune system does not attack the tissues and cells of our own body. So the winners of the Physiology or Medicine Prize are denoted by BRS, Brankow, Ramsdell, and Sakaguchi. And what have they won the prize for? They have won it for PIT, or peripheral immune tolerance. Okay, so that covers the latest winners of the Physiology or Medicine Prize. Now, think back to COVID. What is that one therapy that you would have heard of? That is serum therapy. Okay, and serum therapy, the study of serum therapy, was what the first Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded for. And who is it that won this award? It was Emil von Behring. Okay, it was Emil von Behring who was the first winner of the Physiology or Medicine Prize for his works related to Emil von Behring for his works related to serum therapy. Now, I flagged in the beginning that we would be doing 4 things related to each prize. So we've done number 1 and number 2, the latest winners and the first winner. Number 3, are there any Indian winners of the prize? Now, this question can be slightly loaded or complicated, because are we talking about Indian citizens, or are we also talking about people who were of Indian origin but perhaps have become citizens of a foreign country? Okay, so that can lead to some confusion. No Indian citizen has won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. But one person of Indian origin, Hargobind Khurana, has actually won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. There's one person with an even more remote connection. This is a person who was essentially British, but he was born in the town of Almora. So that's Ronald Ross. Okay, so BRS for this year's winners. First winner, Emil von Behring. Indian citizens who won, no one for medicine. People of Indian origin, Hargobind Khurana. And the final point, which is that institution which decides the winner of the Nobel Prize in Physiology? The answer to that is that it is the Karolinska Institute. Okay, it is the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. Karolinska, the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. Okay, so that puts a wrap on physiology or medicine. Remember the acronym BRS, Brankow, Ramsdell, and Sakaguchi. Okay, now let's move on to chemistry. Okay, when we discussed the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, what I tried to do is to come up with an acronym similar to BRS. So it was BRS for physiology, it's ORS for chemistry. Now this time ORS is made up out of the first names of the winners this year. Who are they? Who are ORS? It is Omar, Richard, and Susumu. Okay, Omar, Richard, and Susumu. These are the 3 people who've together won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Okay, ORS. What have they won it for? Would somebody like to answer that in the chat? What has this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry been won for? Can I have the answer from somebody? Okay, we seem to have an answer. That's right. So the short form for what it has been won for is MOFs, or Metal Organic Frameworks. Okay, so for chemistry, ORS, Omar, Richard, and Susumu have won it for MOFs, or metal organic frameworks. Okay. So recapping it till now, for physiology, it's BRS for PIT. For chemistry, it's ORS for MOFs. Okay. So I hope that is absolutely clear. Now we've done the latest winner. We obviously have to do the first winner as well. Now, I believe some of the science students who are hearing this would have heard of something called the Van't Hoff factor. Haven't you? Now, I believe a bunch of you would have heard of the Van't Hoff factor, right? Especially students of science. So, the Van't Hoff factor is named after Jacobus Henricus Van't Hoff. Okay, Jacobus Henricus Van't Hoff. And he is the person who won the first Nobel Prize in chemistry. Okay, so Jacobus Henricus Van't Hoff is the first winner of the Nobel Prize in chemistry. So we are done with the latest, we are done with the first. Again, the question arises, has any Indian won the Nobel Prize in chemistry? Once again, there is a person of Indian origin, Venkatraman Ramakrishnan, who's won the Nobel Prize in chemistry, but he was not an Indian citizen at the time that he won the prize. Okay, so the only person of Indian origin to have won the chemistry prize is Venkatraman Ramakrishnan. All right, and finally, who is it that picks the winner of the Nobel Prize in chemistry? Now, the good thing for all of you is that the physics, chemistry, as well as economics prizes, the winners of these are decided by the same organization, and that is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. So for chemistry, who picks the winner? The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. So let's revise. For chemistry, what's our acronym for the latest winners? ORS. Omar, Richard, and Susumu. What have they won it for? MOFs, metal organic frameworks. Who was it that won the first Nobel Prize in chemistry? It is Jacobus Henricus Van't Hoff. And finally, who is it that decides the winner? It is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. Has any Indian citizen won it? No, but a person of Indian origin has won it. His name is Venkatraman Ramakrishnan. Okay, so that puts a wrap on physiology or medicine as well as chemistry. Okay, recapping the latest winners: BRS for physiology, ORS for chemistry. And now it's time to look at the prize for physics. Okay, now I'll admit this is a branch which I've always found fascinating. Of course, I could not quite bring myself to study physics at the class 11th and class 12th levels. But nevertheless, one of my earliest fascinations in life was with the galaxies of the world. I had one of those picture books which had a lot of pictures of different galaxies all over our universe. And that used to be the thing I used to find most fascinating. All right, so let's now come to physics. Now, who are the latest winners? This time our acronym is MJJ. Okay, this time our acronym is MJJ. And what does MJJ stand for? It is Michel John John. Okay, it's Michel John John. All right, so this one is relatively easy to pick out of 4 options. There are 2 Johns. Okay, so Michel, and this is a guy, Michel, Michel, John, and John. So these are the 3 people who've together won the Nobel Prize in Physics this year. Now get ready, if you're making notes, just get ready to note down a very long phrase. This is the thing for which the Nobel Prize in Physics has been awarded this year. Okay? So the short form basically is MQMT. Okay? MQMT. So MJJ for MQMT. Michelle John for, are you ready? Macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling. Okay, macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in electrical circuits. So that is what the award has been won for this year. That was quite a mouthful for me to remember and repeat out loud. But basically, Michelle John for macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in electrical circuits. Okay, so that's the latest on the Nobel Prize in Physics. Who was the first winner? You know, the thing for which the Nobel Prize for Physics was won for the first time, I bet this is something we have all encountered. What are we talking about here? One of the most basic and important diagnostic tools in medicine. What do we call it? We call it an X-ray machine. All right. So originally, X-rays used to be known as Röntgen rays. And the first winner of the Physics Nobel Prize was Wilhelm Röntgen for the discovery of the Röntgen rays, or what we today call X-rays. Okay. So that's the latest and the first winners. Now let's come to Indian winners. Okay. Now you all know that there is one Indian winner of the Physics Nobel Prize, and this is C.V. Raman. You would have actually studied this for Clat already. His birth anniversary, that's the 28th of February. His birth anniversary is actually observed as the National Science Day. And C.V. Raman was actually also the first winner of the Bharat Ratna. The first winner of the Bharat Ratna alongside Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan and C. Rajagopalachari. Okay, so remember, C.V. Raman is the Indian winner of the Nobel Prize in Physics. He discovered the Raman effect or Raman scattering on 28th of February 1928, and he got the Nobel Prize for it in 1930. Okay, so remember these related things about C.V. Raman, National Science Day, and he's also the inaugural winner of the Bharat Ratna alongside Dr. Radhakrishnan and C. Rajagopalachari. So that covers the latest winner, the first winner, as well as the Indian winners. And you know what? We've already covered who picks the winner of the Physics Prize. It is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. Okay, so that covers for us the three sciences: physics, chemistry, as well as physiology or medicine. Let us now come to literature. Okay, the literature prize for this year, thankfully for us, was won by a single person, a Hungarian novelist. His name is Laszlo Krasznahor-Kai. Okay, he's a Hungarian novelist, Laszlo Krasznahor-Kai. Okay, now he writes very interesting literature. It's a lot of dystopian literature. I hope you all know what a dystopia is, and conversely, what a utopia is. Okay, so tell me down in the comments if you know the correct meanings of those words. So Laszlo Krasznahor-Kai writes apocalyptic and dystopian literature. And we should know about some of his books. Okay, I think that's important. One of those types of questions could be framed in the exam. Which of the following books was not written by Laszlo Krasznahorkai, the 2025 winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature? So I'll tell you the names of some of his famous books. That's Satan Tango, War and War, and the Melancholy of Resistance. Okay, Satan Tango, War and War, and the Melancholy of Resistance. He has actually another famous work called Saibo There Below. Okay, so what you have to keep in mind about the literature winner, where he's from, that's Hungary, what kind of works he writes, that is, he's a novelist. What are the names of some of his works? Melancholy of Resistance, War and War, Saibo There Below, and Satan Tango. So that's about it about the latest Literature Prize winner. You all know, I think, that the first winner of the Literature Prize was Sully Prudhomme. Okay, Sully Prudhomme was the first winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. And now I have a question. Who is that person from India who's won the Nobel Prize, who has written the national anthems of two different countries? I know you're all thinking about him. One of his greatest works is known as Gitanjali, right? He wrote the national anthems of two countries, India, that is Jana Gana Mana, and Bangladesh, that is Amar Shonar Bangla. Okay, so who are we talking about? We are talking about Vishwa Kavi, the Bard of Bengal, Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature. He was an Indian, and this was a groundbreaking award. Why is that? Rabindranath Tagore, I'm not sure if you know this, Rabindranath Tagore was actually the first Indian, the first Asian, and the first non-white person to win any Nobel Prize. I'm not sure you understand how big that is. He was the first non-white person. He was the first non-Asian person. He was the first non-white person, the first Asian, and the first Indian to win the Nobel Prize in any of the categories. Okay, so the latest winner for literature, Laszlo Krasznahorkai. The first winner, Sully Prudhomme. And finally, the Indian winner, Rabindranath Tagore. The last point here is, who is it that decides the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature? It is the Swedish Academy. Okay, it is the Swedish Academy. Perfect. So that covers the three sciences as well as literature. Now we have two left. We have peace and we have the economic sciences. So I think let's have a look at economics first. Okay. Now, as you know, economics was not an original Nobel Prize. That is to say, it was not mentioned in the will of Alfred Nobel. That is important to remember. This prize gets added in 1968, especially due to the efforts of the Central Bank of Sweden. What is the Central Bank of Sweden known as? Can I have an answer in the comments? What is the Central Bank of Sweden known as? Yes, one of you has given the answer. It is the Sveriges Riksbank. It is the Sveriges Riksbank. So the Central Bank of Sweden really took the initiative and pushed for the creation of a Nobel Prize in economic sciences. However, it was added later, meaning it was not in the original will. So its name is also a little bit different. It's called the Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in the memory of Alfred Nobel. Okay, so that's how it's titled. Now, I'm quickly going to recap the others so we can remember all the acronyms together. It was BRS for physiology. It was ORS for chemistry. It was MJJ for physics. And it is JPP for economic sciences. What is JPP? J stands for Joel. One of the P's stand for Peter, and the last P stands for Philippe. Okay, so Joel, Peter, and Philippe. Okay, so Joel Mokir, Peter Howitt, and Philippe Aghion. Okay, Joel Mokir, Philippe Aghion, and Peter Howitt. So that's JPP. So let's recap. BRS for physiology, ORS for chemistry, MJJ for physics, and JPP for economic sciences. Okay, so they are the latest winners. And what is it that they have won it for? Can some of you answer in the comments? What is it that they have won the Nobel Prize in Economics for? Yes, I'm waiting for some of your comments so we can make it more of a discussion and less just a lecture from my end. Okay, so these three economists basically have been working on the theories of sustained economic growth. Okay, so they have been theorizing how the world can have sustained economic growth. And what is their answer for it? That the economies have to be innovation driven. Okay, so they have explained how sustained economic growth can be achieved if the economies are driven by innovation. Okay, and there's a fun phrase in the press release I want you to go and check out, and that phrase is creative destruction. Okay, this is found in the citation for the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences, and I want you to go check out the meaning of this word. You know, this kind of a thing can be especially relevant for ALET, for NLU Delhi, because in that exam, what they do is they do try to ask a few conceptual or definitional questions. Okay, so we've done the latest. JPP is the acronym: Joel, Peter, and Philippe. Now, who were the first winners? The first winners were Ragnar Frisch and Tinbergen. Okay, Jan Tinbergen. Ragnar Frisch and Jan Tinbergen. They were the inaugural winners of the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. So that covers the latest. It covers the first. Now let's talk about the Indian winner of winners. Basically, one Indian citizen has won the Nobel Prize in Economics, and that's Professor Amartya Sen for his work on development economics. And who is the second person? It is Abhijit Banerjee, who is basically of Indian origin. But the field of his work, a lot of it is in India and South Asia. So for economics, JPP for the latest, for describing how innovation-driven economies can deliver sustained economic growth. The first winners, Ragnar Frisch and Jan Tinbergen. And finally, the Indian winners, citizen Amartya Sen for development economics, and of Indian origin, Abhijit Banerjee. Now, I've already flagged for you that physics, chemistry, and economic sciences, all three are given by the same institution. Which one is it? Which one is it? Come on. It is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. Now, this puts a wrap on 5 out of 6 Nobel Prizes. Now, why have I grouped these 5 together? I've grouped these 5 together. Why? Because these 5 are decided in Sweden by Swedish institutions. And who gives the prize? The King of Sweden. By the way, all the Nobel Prizes are given on the death anniversary of Alfred Nobel, which is the 10th of December, which is the same day as Human Rights Day. Okay, this is the International Human Rights Day. Okay, so these 5, physics, chemistry, physiology, economics, as well as literature, these 5 are decided in Sweden, and the prizes are conferred by the King of Sweden. Finally, we have the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, this is a prize decided in Norway, and it's awarded or presented or conferred by the King of Norway. Okay, so just keep this in mind. The other 5 presented in Sweden, Peace Prize presented in Norway by the King of Norway. Okay, now who picks the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize? It is the Norwegian Nobel Committee. Okay, it's the Norwegian Nobel Committee, which is appointed by the Parliament of Norway. Now, I've told some of you in class, what is the Parliament of Norway called? It's called the Storting, Storting. So the Norwegian Nobel Committee, appointed by the Storting, decides the winners of the Nobel Prize for Peace. Okay. Now, who is the winner this year? This year, the winner is a Venezuelan opposition leader. Her name is Maria Corina Machado. Okay, Maria Corina Machado. Now, I have a feeling you're not going to forget her name at all. So this is a Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, and she has won the Nobel Prize for Peace this year. In fact, last year she had also won the Sakharov Prize for the freedom of thought given by the European Parliament. So she is the latest winner. Now, you need to know some things related to Venezuela, but the most important thing, who is the dictator or president of Venezuela right now? It is Maduro. Okay, Maduro is the president and or dictator of Venezuela. Okay, so that's the latest winner. Who was the first winner? The first Nobel Peace Prize was actually shared by 2 people. Number 1, Henry Dunant of the Red Cross and Frederick Passy. Okay, Henry Dunant and Frederick Passy. These are the 2 people who shared the first Nobel Peace Prize. And the latest is Maria Corina Machado. Okay, so that covers the first and the latest. We have also done who picks the winner. That's the Norwegian Nobel Committee. Finally, we have the Indian winners of the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, now the first person to actually win from India the Nobel Peace Prize, I know some of you are saying it in the chat, it's Mother Teresa. Okay, now you may be thinking, wasn't Mother Teresa from Albania? Yes, but she did her life's work in India and was actually a naturalized citizen of India. In fact, she is also the first naturalized citizen of India to win the Bharat Ratna. Okay, so Mother Teresa won the Nobel Peace Prize, and the other person who's famous for winning the Nobel Peace Prize for India is Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, who won it alongside Malala Yousafzai of Pakistan And this happened around the time I actually gave Clat. Anyway, so moving on. So Indian winners, Kailash Satyarthi and Mother Teresa. I know some lists also mention the Dalai Lama, but you should remember, of course, the Dalai Lama is Tibetan. Certainly, he would describe himself as Tibetan. We in India have given him asylum, and the Tibetan government in exile runs from Dharmashala. The Chinese, of course, would refer to him as Chinese, the Chinese government, I mean. All right. So that's about the Nobel Peace Prize. The first winner, the latest winner, the Indian winner, and who decides the prize. Okay. Now, Malala reminds me, Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan is actually the youngest ever winner of any Nobel Prize. Okay. And interestingly, the person who was the oldest ever winner, he has a very interesting name. His name was John Goodenough. Okay, his name was John Goodenough, and he is the oldest ever winner of the Nobel Prize. Okay, so I think that covers a lot or most of the key points related to the Nobel Prizes. I think I'm going to end with 2 or 3 questions for you, and then we'll wrap up this session. So my 3 questions for you are, number 1, who was the first winner of any Nobel Prize who was a woman? So the first ever female winner of any Nobel Prize. Okay, so the answer to that is Marie Curie. Okay, the answer to that is Marie Curie. The second, so I see some of you got that right. Great. The second question I have is, who is that person who has actually won Nobel Prizes in 2 different branches of science? Okay. The first person to have won Nobel Prizes in 2 different branches of science. In this case, it's physics and it's chemistry. Okay. So can somebody answer? You can pause the screen if you want to try to think about it. But anyway, who is that person? The first person to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields. The answer once again is Marie Curie, who won prizes in physics as well as chemistry. Okay, so that's marvelous. I think some of you got both of the questions right. That's brilliant. Now, let's have one final question for all of you. The question I have for all of you is, who was the first Indian woman to win any Nobel Prize? Who was the first Indian woman to win any Nobel Prize? So I'm waiting for all of your answers. Here, remember, let me clarify. I'm looking for somebody who's an Indian citizen. Okay. Who was the first Indian woman to win any Nobel Prize? Can we see if we have some answers from all of you? All right. Do we have some answers? So you must have noticed, if you followed this video carefully, we have flagged all of the Indian winners for each of the prizes. So in terms of Indian citizens, physiology has none. In terms of Indian citizens, chemistry has none. In terms of Indian citizens, physics has 1, that's C.V. Raman. In terms of Indian citizens, literature has 1, that's Tagore. In terms of economics, we have 1 Indian citizen, that's Amartya Sen. And in peace, we have 2 Indian citizens, one of whom is a woman, and that is Mother Teresa. Okay, so Mother Teresa was a naturalized citizen of India, and she became the first Indian woman to win any Nobel Prize. Okay, so I hope you all found this session informative. I hope it piqued your interest. I hope the acronyms have helped you. I'll say it again: BRS for physiology, ORS for chemistry. What is it for physics? MJJ. Economic sciences, JPP. For literature, we don't have an acronym. It's simply Laszlo Krasznahorkai. And finally, for peace, once again, it's a single person, Maria Corina Machado. So I hope you found the acronyms useful. I hope it will help you remember it for the exam. I just want to wish you best of luck. It's about 35 days to Clat. So I hope you are preparing well. For GK, my advice is please go backwards, start from October, and then begin revising back towards January. Okay, so I hope you had a good time in this session, and I hope you found the questions interesting as well. So thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.